is Christy Carter of Global Positive News Network, and I have the privilege of introducing to you Rebecca van Bergen, who is the founder and executive director of Nest. Their website, buildanest.org, is incredibly informative. And what they have done, Nest is actually a nonprofit 501c3 building a new hand worker economy to increase global workforce inclusivity, improve women's well-being beyond factories, and improve important cultural traditions around the world. Rebecca, from what I got from your website, Rebecca grew up with a great-grandmother and grandmother who were quilters and sewers. So Rebecca was drawn to the craftsmanship as a means of self-expression and opportunity. So Rebecca, why did you start this foundation?
Sure. I'm a social worker by training. So I got my degree in social work, and upon graduating, the year I graduated with my degree, Muhammad Yunus won the Nobel Peace Prize for microfinance. And I think at the time, international development experts and organizations were kind of heralding it a solution to poverty, and it started scaling very quickly. And I think it has done a lot for women around the world, but kind of through the lens of social work, which is sort of about direct human-to-human interaction with people, not about kind of policy change, it seemed challenging. I mean, in our country, lending is debt. It's not a business. And so to be scaling microfinance without kind of associated business development, capacity development, market access would be really challenging for women around the world. And so I founded Nest with a mission to really provide more holistic support to women entrepreneurs and really recognized craft as, I think estimates say it's the second largest employer of women around the world, but it really is what women in emerging markets are doing if they're not farming. And so it really seemed like sort of the space in the sector to focus.
Mm-hmm. That is fantastic. Wow. So what do you wish to accomplish overall?
And I think I think a couple things. One, I think one of the things, when I started Nest, it was the year that Etsy started. And so if you can remember way back then, before these things were kind of part of our kind of standard discourse, people really weren't talking about artisan and handcraft in the way that they are today. If people were talking about it, it was about sort of, remnants from travels or kind of kitschy Christmas tree ornaments, but it wasn't sort of a part of kind of massive consumer consumption in the way that it is now. And so it's been a really exciting time for the organization and for the world and consumers, because I think that there has been this steadily growing demand for handcrafted.
Wow.
And I think at Nest, we see that as sort of happening in parallel to this kind of massive technological shift that the human psyche actually craves and yearns for. That kind of human feel when they see so much being automated. And so we see a lot of potential now and in the future for the handmade. And so what our kind of vision and kind of hope is that we can help invest in artisan enterprises so that they're able to meet that growing consumer demand and do so in a way that's ethical. I mean, I think most handcraft is a woman practicing, and she's often paid per piece in cash. So it's part of the informal economy. And so really making sure that the tools are built for transparency, to ensure that the wages are mapping to fair wages for her and her family. And so building and kind of capitalizing on the consumer demand, but making sure that the kind of handcraft sector is an ethical handcraft sector. And so how do we really make sure that consumers and industry and brand partners really want to carry ethical handcraft? And we have a consumer seal that's at Target and West Elm and Pottery Barn, and rolling out in other retailers, which really kind of give consumers a kind of seal of assurance that the work is made by hand and made fairly by hand.
That's incredible. I love your website. You have some beautiful photographs of women, weaving baskets and doing the loom, making textiles and things like that. It's awesome. I love it. I was recently in Dharavi. Do you know about Dharavi in India?
Tell me.
It's actually one of the biggest slums in the world, and it's kind of a regulated slum. It's a community, which is a beautiful community. And they have women, local women doing these beautiful crafts. They're absolutely incredible. And people think of a slum as really bad, but this is actually where Slumdog Millionaire was actually filmed. So there's a huge community there. And it just kind of reminded me of that, because these beautiful people are making these amazing craftsmanship things, and it's just really, really neat.
I think one of the most exciting things about craft is that you carry it with you anywhere you go. So you go to refugee camps, you go in communities that have been displaced because of poverty or war or famine, and they still contain this skill set. They bring it with them, and so you're able to produce craft in all kinds of settings. And it also, I think one of the most powerful but under spoken about aspects of craft is that it triggers the same brain chemistry as meditation, because it's often repetitive motion, whether you're beading or weaving or knitting. It's very repetitive, and so there's a healing aspect to it too that I think is really important. And so it's not just livelihood for people, it's often much more than that.
That is awesome. Yeah, my grandma taught me how to do quilts, and I do like Hawaiian quilted pillows. That's my thing, because I love Hawaii. So what kind of crafts are you doing right now personally?
I'm a knitter, I have a almost 7-year-old daughter, so I've been teaching her to knit. So we've been knitting a lot of scarves together. Cool. But I know how to knit and embroider, and we do a range of things. Our team is very crafty. So
that is so wonderful. Wow, that's awesome. So what did you do that made an impact on your community in the last 6 months?
I think one of the things we've been really excited about at Nest is that a lot of our work is global, but it's also domestic. And so we've been doing a lot of work in the United States recently, and we've launched a program last year called Makers United, which is really working with cities to make sure that the kind of growing makers movements that they're seeing in their cities are inclusive and really supporting a diverse range of makers. I think, there's, definitely kind of we're in New York City, and, I think there's like a Brooklyn aesthetic in this kind of makers movement. But there's makers in all kinds of communities, and immigrant and refugee communities, and lower income community. There's a whole realm of kind of creative activist entrepreneurs, and so really trying to take a broad scope of what making is in the U.S. and make sure that the movements being built are inclusive, diverse, interesting, and well supported.
That is amazing. I'm just curious, how many centers do you have throughout the world?
So we run at Nest, we have an open access global community for artisan businesses, which we call our guild, which is almost 800 enterprises in a footprint of over 100 countries. Wow. And it's free to join. And the artisan businesses, once they join, get given monthly free opportunities. Largely, we run a pro bono consulting program where experts can volunteer their time to build a new website, do a pricing strategy, help with a business plan, a range of things. And we do raw material giveaways and live webinars and a whole range of things. But anyone in the world that's running an artisan enterprise can join, and everything that they access will be free of cost to them. And then we do a range of more in-depth programs. We run a application-based artisan accelerator where businesses apply and they go through a much more robust program. And then in addition to kind of raising philanthropy and investing directly in artisan businesses, we also consult with brands and retailers on how to appropriately integrate artisans into their supply chains in ways that are transparent and long-lasting.
Oh, that's wonderful, wonderful. Rebecca, all of a sudden your screen went a little bit dark. So you look, I wonder if you could tilt there you go, that's better. Yeah, we want to see your face. You have a beautiful face. Okay. So Rebecca, what things do you have coming in the near future?
We're so the work we're doing, Makers United, we're expanding to new cities. We piloted that in Birmingham last year, and this year we're growing it to Austin, San Antonio, Detroit, New York City, and St. Louis, which we're very excited about. We're continuing to roll out our, I think the Seal of Ethical Handcraft is the first time that Nest has really been able to speak directly to consumers about the work that we're doing, and they'll be able to find the Nest seal on products in stores. And so we're really excited to continue to roll that out into new companies and new storefronts so that consumers have an easy way to shop handcrafted items and ethically handcrafted items.
That is awesome. So Rebecca, what positive news do you have for our viewers today?
And I think we're in it's an uncertain time. I think obviously we were speaking a little bit earlier about the coronavirus, and I think one of the things that we love about craft is that it's very unifying. I think, my grandmother and great grandmother taught me to craft, but I've not yet met a single person who didn't have a direct line to somebody who was a maker, whether that's a seamstress or a tailor or a shoemaker. And so it's very personal for people all over the world. And so I think that it really is this kind of great force to really see the world as a community and to feel very directly connected to some of the challenges that we see. And so we found it's like a really awesome way to bring people into conversations about global equity and the future. And so we're super excited about what's to come.
That is fabulous. I love that. And I like how you were saying earlier about how it is very therapeutic, basically, to do knitting, to do sewing, and do crafts like that.
Yep.
And it really is a healing situation. I love that. It's
absolutely. And you can do it, you can teach your children how to do these things, and then you can do it. My great grandmother is still knitting. So I think you can. It's a lifelong pursuit.
That is awesome. I love that. I mean, it's like we're kind of like one big global tribe, basically.
Exactly.
And we have all these, specific different interests and different styles, but we're all together. And I love that.
Yeah.
Well, I want to thank you very much for this interview. This has just been a pleasure and a gift for Global Positive News Network. And I want our audience of Global Positive News Network to go to your site, to go to buildanest.org, take a look around, get more educated about the ethical handcrafts that are being made all over the world. And there's so many opportunities. You can see these handcrafted items on the website. You can learn more, you can donate, or you can become a newsletter recipient. So Rebecca, thank you again so much for this interview. It's been a pleasure, and I feel honored again to interview you.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely, absolutely.